Hey everybody, welcome back for another memory keeping video. So this is for the week of November 2nd through the 9th. I'm going to do an 8-day week with this lovely Cafe with Anna kit called Tu recuerdo. This was a mini kit version of Anna's rendition of the clip art kit's Dia de los Muertos art. And so the week before this for Halloween, I did a 6-day week so that I could use a Halloween kit. And then I had thought about just using my kits for this theme in the coming years, but then I really wanted to use the art this year. So I was like, we're going to do an 8-day week so that I can mark Dia de los Muertos on November 2nd, as well as use my Halloween kit the week before. I love the altar, the ofrenda scene in this set. It's gorgeous and it really turned out great. I'm going to color block. The only thing that I couldn't do that I wish I could have done if I had done a normal 7-day week is that I couldn't use the date covers, and I loved the pattern of the date covers in this kit. But because I had 8 days, I would have had like one of the 8 days not have the correct patterned date cover, and that would have bothered me. So I just pulled in some date dots and some date covers from my leftovers collection. It's pretty plain, and that's fine though, because I had so many bright colors in this kit, and then I had deco at the top as well. So yes, I prioritized using the full boxes in this one that were very similar to the ones in the Bunny Bear Plans box, but even with buying 2 of the same kit from different people, I've got a huge variety of full boxes, which is really nice. So we're gonna pull in as many of those as possible, although I will have I think like 4 full boxes left over, even with using a couple of extenders. I mostly had like the fashion people left over, but that's perfectly fine because I can definitely use them next year when I use this art again. Obviously, if you're new here, you don't know this, but if you've been here a while, you already know what I'm going to say about art here. All the flat lays of food, perfect. Like, absolutely what I needed. So on Tuesday, you see tamales, there's pozole in the box that is currently open, but that is a Mexican soup, usually done around like Christmas from what I can tell with my husband's family, but you can have it whenever. It's just a really nice hearty winter soup in my opinion. I want to make some this year. I think we made some last year. It's one of those where like it actually tastes better as leftovers because it has time to like sit and like all the flavors marry and everything. But I feel like that's most soups for me. Like a lot of times soup that is fresh doesn't actually taste like anything. Does that make me weird? Let me know. I feel like soups and stews are better as leftovers personally. But yeah, and then there was I think pan dulce in here, multiple types. So that was really fantastic to see. There's definitely like other art sets for this theme that have come out in the past. I know Bunny Bear Plans has like 3 or 4 kits around this theme, and I don't even know who the artists are for the older kits, which is a shame because they should get credit for that. But I am really excited about this theme. It's something that my husband has celebrated off and on for years as a Mexican American, and I think one thing we all could learn who are not part of this community from some of the discourse around Michael's selling stuff for this holiday about 10 years ago. It's good to appreciate the culture while at the same time recognizing that this is a very spiritually based holiday. So, you know, celebrate it in ways that the community that has created this holiday invites you to celebrate it, if that makes sense. Like especially stuff around like sugar skulls and the calavera makeup. Like if you're invited to participate in that by someone from that community, that's great. If you're just kind of appropriating it, then that's not so great. But I think I said this either when I hauled this kit or in my lineup, I can't remember. I think celebrating it in your planner is a great way to appreciate the holiday. I'm not part of this community, so obviously take what I say with a grain of salt if you hear differently from somebody who is part of the culture that celebrates this holiday. Listen to them over me. But that's something that I feel like I've learned over time is like, make sure that you're celebrating the holiday in ways that you've been invited to celebrate it, not just because you think it looks pretty or it's like an aesthetic or it's being sold commercially at a store. Let me know if that makes sense. And if you are Mexican, chime in on this, please. Like, correct me on any of my points. But that's something that's definitely been up for discussion as far as like the sugar skulls, especially, and the face paint. Um, do be cautious with that especially if you're not part of that community. Anyway, again, let me know if I've misspoke, but that's most of what I've taken away from, especially discussions with my husband. So, yeah. And then, yeah, love the bright colors in this. Gorgeous, gorgeous. I put a dinner's sidebar on an extender on one of my food boxes. I thought that was funny. This is how I humor myself. So with an 8-day week, I don't have space, of course, to do a full sidebar, and I like doing a functional sidebar even in my decorative planning. So I put the weekly checklist on the inside. For some reason, it didn't perfectly match up with the length of the full box, so I have a little bit of sticker overhang, but oh well. And so I was able to write in all my meals for Monday through Sunday of this week, and then at the bottom of Sunday, I'm going to mark what I had for dinner that Sunday, but I also included it in the Halloween spread the week before. So we're going to mark multiple times that I had carnitas tacos on Sunday. But they were lovely, so, why not mark it twice? But yes, I love this pozole full box. Gorgeous. Really makes me want pozole. Gorgeous. How many more times am I going to call a bowl of soup gorgeous? But it is. It just is. I also thought it was funny. I still have these nails on while I'm recording this voiceover, but I have my coffee nails, my cappuccino or latte nails, whatever you want to call, for my Cafe with Anna week. So I also thought it matched this kit really nicely. So we're going to go ahead and get into the day by day. I have been babbling on. I am in the middle of final grading season, so my brain is not going to communicate things verbally that well because I'm so hyper-focused on the computer. But the first thing I marked on Sunday, of course, was Dia de los Muertos, so I used a piece of deco from the kit. And then this was also the end of daylight savings time, so we fell back an hour, which I prefer. And then I had to drive my husband to Amtrak because he was going to San Francisco for most of the week for a conference. So it made more sense for me to drop him off, especially because he was leaving like in the middle of the day anyway, than for him to park his car there because I don't even know what the long-term parking situation is over there. So I did that. I was the taxi for the day, came home and did some exercise, and then filmed it must have been my November lineup and my November monthly. And then I posted to Instagram again because I've been trying to post more weekly spreads over there, but I just don't post to my grid that much on my planner Instagram. It's mostly a lot of Insta story nonsense. Sorry about that. And then I noticed that the kitchen sink was leaking a little bit, so I had to clean out from underneath the sink. Of course, it had to happen as soon as my husband left for like 5 days, but I got it figured out. I played with Clover, and then I started watching Nobody Wants This season 2. I thought it was cute. I like the show. I feel like they spend most of the season ignoring the problems that could occur in a relationship between these two people, and then it like blows up in the second to last episode, and then suddenly they resolve it again. I feel like it's more of a character study show than anything. I feel the conflict itself is not written the best. Let me know if you watch Nobody Wants This. It's the Kristen Bell Adam Brody show, and like they have incredible chemistry. They're great in it, but I just feel like some points of the story, I'm like, didn't we talk about this and say we were fine with it already? Like, why are we debating this again? But that's just me. Maybe I just have clearer communication in my own relationship. Maybe that's just me. And then I marked the carnitas tacos. So I had leftover carnitas that people had brought for our pizza party. So I just made tacos with that. And then I put in a habit tracker at the bottom just to mark flossing for the week. Monday was another one of my brother's birthdays. Yes, I do have 2 brothers who are like exactly 53 weeks apart in age. That's just the family. Moving on, I marked doing Clover's inhaler and scooping the litter boxes, and then I went to work and taught my classes and graded. In between my afternoon classes and my night classes, I came home and took a nap, and then I went and taught my night classes, and then my husband and I had a phone chat this evening because he was in San Francisco, which is not that far from here. It's just he had to be at things so early, and the work was paying for the hotel anyway, so it's like really there are people who live in Sacramento and drive to San Francisco on a daily basis, which is wild, but that's their life. They want the San Francisco money, but the Sacramento home prices is what I understand. But since they were paying for a hotel anyway, it just made more sense to take Amtrak out there and stay out there for the week. And then I continued watching Nobody Wants This. Tuesday was a special election in California. We approved a ballot measure. I talked about that a few videos ago, so I'm not going to reiterate all of it now. I marked doing Clover's inhaler. If you're new here, my 2-year-old cat has asthma, so she gets a twice daily inhaler, because with cats, you don't use a rescue inhaler. You do like a maintenance inhaler, because obviously they're not going to be able to give themselves an emergency inhaler. So that's my life. So yeah, I'm marking the litter boxes and the inhaler, all the cat maintenance. I ran the dishwasher, all that stuff. I don't normally mark that, but when I have space, I might as well. Did more exercise, I had therapy, and then I graded a whole bunch of papers. Took the trash out, which I don't normally mark because generally my husband takes care of that, but I did it and I had a sticker that matched the spread, so I marked that. And then this evening I got on FaceTime with my husband and we finally booked all of our lodging for our Puerto Rico vacation, because I was like, we really need to get this done soon. I'm kind of stressed out by the fact that it's not done. So that kind of solidified all of our plans. We had our flights and our lodging and all of that. I don't think this trip is going to be one where we book a lot of like tours or activities the way that we did with New Zealand. It's probably going to be more like our Hawaii trip from a few years ago, where we kind of just like poke around and do whatever and eat a lot of good food, hopefully, and lie on the beach. And I think that's the plan, other than we got to get ferry tickets for one thing. I should look into that, but it doesn't sound like that ferry sells out, so I think we should be okay. Then I played with both of the cats. So I have this really cute Sweet Ava's paper sticker. I have not been saying where stickers are from, but you can probably guess. Most of them are either from Sweet Ava's Paper or Itty Bitty Sticker Co., who's closed right now. And that's kind of it. Yeah, that's mostly it. So you can probably find some of these stickers, although all of these shops are either taking breaks or not continuing with certain inventory. So sorry if you can't get any of these stickers, but there's a lot of character stickers out there, so I'm sure you can find something that fits your needs. Wednesday, it was really rainy and really windy, so my commute was a little hairy this day. I went and taught my classes, I lesson planned, and then this was the day I was invited to interview for a full-time professor job that I had applied for. I've actually applied for it like twice, because they've been hiring 2 people, but they like stretched it out across the whole year instead of like hiring both people at once. So I was really excited. Just as a spoiler, just so nobody gets their hopes up, I interviewed for it and then did not make it to the second interview, which is fine. My goal for this year, really, with applying to these jobs was to get to the interview stage at first, because full-time professor interviews are, they're a lot to prep for, because you don't just prep to be interviewed, you prep a teaching demo, you prep all sorts of stuff. You usually give a writing sample and all of those types of things. So I'm glad I got to at least that point. I know for sure there's definitely people more qualified than I am. So I'm glad that I at least made it to this point. I went and taught my night classes. I scooped the litter and took care of Clover's inhaler. So I used a litter box sticker for this one because I was out of my Molly inhaler stickers, and then I continued watching Nobody Wants This. On Thursday, I did some more exercise. That shoe that I'm going to use to mark that is from the Prairie Planner. I lesson planned and graded, as well as started a new plan with me. And that took up pretty much the entire day, because the next thing I marked, which wasn't until like 6 or 7 o'clock at night, was picking my husband up from Amtrak. So these taxi stickers are from the Sticker Party. I'm not sure if she has them anymore. It's been a while since I've ordered from the Sticker Party, but that's where the little taxi cabs, the yellow ones, are from. And then I watched the new episode of Abbott Elementary and Last Week Tonight and Josh Johnson on YouTube. Friday, my husband worked from home, which was nice after him being gone all week. And then I did laundry, I graded papers, and then we got one more round of ladybugs from the nursery. So our tomato plants in the fall, like in late October, early November, got this infestation of, I think we've determined they are called spider mites. And so we're like, and this is mostly my husband coordinating this, but I'm the one who pointed it out to my husband. I'm like, I think there's something colonizing the tomato plants. And he's like, huh. So he went and got some more ladybugs. They were on sale. They were half off ladybugs. And I think part of it was that half of them were, let's call it permanent hibernation. Because if you've never bought ladybugs, what they do at the nursery is sell them in a refrigerator, and they keep them in the refrigerator to keep them asleep. And then you let them out in your garden, like usually at night, so that they don't just like immediately totally fly away. But anyway, they did a little bit of work, but then the ones who were alive left after a few days. They stuck around longer this time though than they did in the summer, so that was nice. And then the other ones just kind of it became a ladybug graveyard. So yeah, I think the spider mites are winning at this point, but the tomato plants are kind of going into dormancy at this point anyway. Like, I think we have a few more tomatoes that might be okay to eat off of the plant. I'm saying this in early December, so I might go and pick those. But otherwise, I think tomato season is done. The pepper plants have finally started peppering though, so that's fun for my husband and for my family who likes eating peppers at Thanksgiving. We'll talk about that when we get to Thanksgiving. We went out to a Mexican restaurant for dinner, and then we watched the Great British Bake Off finale. It was really early this year. We got the season quite early this year, so I'm very happy with the results of this season. I don't love every cast from every season, I'll be honest, but this year's crew was fantastic, both in terms of skills as well as personalities, and I'm really happy with who won. It was kind of like a dark horse situation, kind of like slow and steady wins the race, but I'm really happy. So DM me on Instagram if you want to talk about Bake Off. I'm not going to give spoilers here because I know people don't watch it right away the same way that I do. And then we continued watching season 3 and starting season 4 of Stranger Things. So of course I had to use the Slurpee from the Carly Plans Friends Don't Lie sheet for season 3. If you watched Stranger Things and got to the end of season 3, you know why that's important. Yeah, so yeah, we were in the home stretch with our Stranger Things rewatch. Saturday, we got lattes from the local bakery, so I used this cute pumpkin spice latte cat from Sweet Eva's Paper. I still haven't gotten a pumpkin spice latte this year. I actually don't get them that often. I'm a very like plain coffee type of person. Like as long as I have like some sort of dairy in my coffee, I'm fine. I don't really need flavors. I bought tickets to the zoo because I realized both of us were going to have Tuesday off for Veterans Day, and so was one of my friends who's a zoo member, so I thought, why not go to the zoo? And then I started setting up my 2026 plum paper planner, which is actually a 2025 plum paper planner, but I have decided I'm going to redate it. They accidentally sent me 2 last year because one of them got lost in the mail for like 4 months, and then it finally showed up, so might as well use it because it's still perfectly functional. I'm just gonna have to white out and redate everything. I started my interview prep this day, so I kind of had an idea of what types of questions they were going to ask me, plus I needed to start prepping my teaching demonstration, which included a short lesson, so I started that this day. I did more exercise, I finished the plan with me I had started a few days prior, and then we were watching Stranger Things 4 on Netflix, so I have the Running Up That Hill cassette tape. Sunday, I marked that it'll be 6 months till the Hayley Williams concert, although I hadn't bought tickets yet. I think the dates had been leaked, but they hadn't been published yet, so we'll talk more about that next week. I FaceTimed my sister in San Diego, or one of my sisters in San Diego. Is this out of focus, or are my eyes just blurring out? Weird. It's like sort of out of focus, sort of not. Sorry about that. But yeah, we hadn't caught up in a while, so I wanted to chat. And then my husband and I went to Target just to look at the available Christmas trees because I wanted to see something in person before I ordered it online. We didn't end up buying anything this day, but we just wanted to see what options were available. I ended up filling up the gas tank because it was empty, and then sorting out my huge Sweet Eva's Paper sticker order, reading White Teeth, and then watching more of Stranger Things 4. So that is my very colorful Dia de los Muertos week. Here's what's left. We still have 4 full boxes that I'll probably mix into the bunch for next year. Still have the date covers, still love those. And then I kept a few pieces of deco like the pozole to actually use as like an icon when we make pozole this year, hopefully. But yes, thanks so much for listening to me talk about my week and about the holiday. Let me know your thoughts or your experiences with this holiday if you have any. And I really appreciate you watching. I will talk to you next time. Bye.